in us through the paper. And members can take note as well. Let's say 10 minutes will be enough. No problem. Please start. Members and chairman, thank you for letting us the opportunity to update the panel on the latest progress on the protection of endangered species in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong government has been committed to protect endangered species. And according to the Convention on the Endangered Species and Plant Species Ordinance, to fulfill its obligation on the Convention of International Trade of Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, CITES. To step up the deterrent, recently we have modified the ordinance to lifting the penalty to 10 million and 10 years imprisonment, and hoping to enhance the deterrent effect. This highlighted the focus and determination of the government. And now I pass on to Assistant Director of AFCD, Mr. Chen Tianfeng. Please hang on a minute. Let me explain to the deputations. Thank you for attending today's meeting. May I remind that the deputations and individuals, if necessary, you can put on your headphones and the loudspeaker. And 0 channel is the floor, and channel 1 is Cantonese, and channel 2 is English version, and channel 3 is Putonghua. And your time allowed, well, I will discuss later. The administration is now walking us through the paper submit to LegCo. And you're able to see the document in the LegCo website. So feel free to listen in to the AFCD and the Environmental Bureau. Please continue. And Mr. Simon Chen, on the progress on the protection of endangered species. And according to CIETS, to ensure that the international trade in species of wild animals and plants do not threaten their survival, the Hong Kong government protected species set out in the 3 appendices to CITES through the implementation of the Endangered Species of Animals and Plant Ordinance. Currently, the 8 plant species are listed in the of sharks are listed Appendix 2 to CITES and included in the ordinance. They have to be obtained legally, and trade is sustainable in order to obtain a permit to conduct international trade. According to the ordinance, and all these scheduled specimens must be accompanied with a valid CITES permit. And for the international trade of a species, a possession license, however, is not required for the local possession of fins and other parts of derivative of scheduled park species. And at the 17th meeting of the conference, the party decided to list 4 more shark species, Appendix 2 to CITES. A legislative exercise have initiated to amend the Endangered Species of Animals and Plant Ordinance to put these species under regulation. We plan to submit the proposed amendments to LegCo for a negative vetting as soon as possible. There is no shark-related fisheries, and most of the sharks are imported elsewhere. And CITES agreed that the commercial trade may be beneficial to the conservation of species and ecosystem or to development local people when the levels are not detrimental to the survival of species in question. Along with this principle, CITES does not ban the international trade in CITES listed shark species. To take the lead and set a good example in the promotion of green living, the Hong Kong SAR government promulgate internal guidelines on adopting conservation-conscious menus, including no shark fin in official entertainment functions. In addition, the HSR government strive to raise public awareness on the conservation of endangered species through education and publicity. AFCD can be working with the Customs Excise Department for joint enforcement actions to crack down on the illicit import of endangered species, including sharks species. We will continue to work with departments to crack down on illegal importing. Also work with the stakeholders such as logistical company to remind them to abide with the convention. The green turtles is the only species nested in Hong Kong. And every few years, the mature green turtles will travel long distance back to their breeding areas. The Shamwan and Lamma Island is the only site in which a small proportion of green turtles has been recorded nest regularly and irregularly. And every few years, there will be one green turtle breeding in the site. It has been a listing as a convention in the ordinance, and also a protected wild animals. And the FCD implementing a green turtle species action plan with various conservation measures to protect green turtles and their nesting sites. These measures include designating its nesting site in Shamwai as a restricted area, carrying out patrol, monitoring, and habitat control management, undertaking scientific studies, and removing abandoned fishing nets, conducting publicity and education, as well as making regional and international collaboration. To strengthen the monitoring of the Shamwan, we will install a surveillance system for off-site remote surveillance to protect the green turtles. We're currently amending the species action plan to continue to monitor the nesting situation, as well as to review the existing conservation ordinance. And insects are native species in Hong Kong. It is scattered across the mature greenlands, and green tree will emit agar wood when it's wounding by fungus. Since it's worth a lot of money, so the years of illegal felling took place to collect agar wood. According to information, the illegal felling of incense trees involves mostly chiwei trim holders that believe destined to be offered for sale at the mainland. To tackle this, for the past 2 years, a series of measures have been adopted for a serious crackdown of illegal felling. The AFCD have set up a task force to conduct patrolling in the black spots. And the AFCD also collaborate with the police and to invite collaboration with residents living nearby the incense trees breeding grounds to early detection of illegal felling. And the government have deployed to infrared sensors to monitor the trees, and with the help of this collected signal, have made arrests and prosecuted under the theft ordinance of poachers. It has proven that it's been useful in arresting offenders. It's been extended to other areas. The AFCD have metallic true gas and mesh fences for secure barrier against large and mature specimens. Other measures include boundary control, enhanced communication with quarantine dogs, and enhanced communication with relevant mainland authorities, as well as replanting in countryside, scientific studies, and well as publicity and education. The AFCD has consolidated the above measures and to formulate the species action plan through working with law enforcement agencies, academia, and NGOs, and the local communities to take forward the various initiatives. On the other hand, to crack down on the trading of endangered species and trading, and on the 2018 and have set aside enough penalties, as well as topping up the penalties to provide sufficient deterrent to crack down on the illegal trading of endangered species. They already took effect in May 2014. If any of this trading of the scheduled species will be liable to 10 million fine and 10 years imprisonment. For Schedule 2 and 3 species, the penalty will be 1 million and 7 years imprisonment.
The government will review regularly and monitor the scene locally. So regarding the sea turtle and sharks and incense, that would conclude my report. Thank you, Chairman.
Next, an Aqua Meridian Education Foundation, Dr. Lockyear.
With Aquamarian Education Conservation Foundation and also a member of the IUCN Commission on Education and Communication. As a Lama resident, I personally feel that the government should be commended for its Wildlife Protection Act that it introduced in 1999. However, the local water sports environment has changed over the last 20 years. We're now seeing more high-speed pleasure craft, more motorised vessels, and the use in the area in the weekend and public holidays has increased over the summer months. Just last July, I observed up to 30 pleasure craft, jet skis, banana boats and even people water skiing in the bay, as well as a group of 50 people holding a game of cricket on the beach in the middle of what should be the closed season. Being an avid diver, a boat operator and adventurer, I enjoy water sports myself, so I'm far from being against people enjoying the outdoors. But it should be noted that many of these pleasure craft have sound systems and generate noise in excess of 80 decibels. Something similar to what the emergency sirens are on our emergency vehicles here in our busy streets of Hong Kong. Over the past few years, we've recorded commercial fishing vessels netting in Shamwan. Even today, as we're sitting here now, there's a fleet of purse fishing boats that are legally trawling the bay. Sadly, our Marine Police and AFCD officers are powerless to stop this type of fishing within the bay and during the sea turtle nesting period, as the current level of protection does not prohibit this at the time. Since 2012, the trawler fishing ban, the fish numbers here in Hong Kong have been on a healthy rise. It can be seen and attested to by local fishermen. However, sadly, the number of stranded and deceased sea turtles as well as marine cetaceans has also risen, and to almost a double what they were a few years ago. The current WPA legislation protects the dry, sandy beach of Shamwan but does not protect the waters. To personalise this, it would be like us protecting our bedroom but not our living room, kitchen or the remainder of our house. Therefore, it's vitally important that this committee considers and supports the expansion of the protection of the Bay Area by 1, extending the area to include not only the dry, sandy beach above the high water mark, but to also include the sandy beach below the high water mark, the rocky shorelines and the shallow waters up to a 10-metre depth. Designate the bay as a no-anchor zone year-round. Restrict fishing activities to non-commercial fishing and implement a ban on all forms of net fishing within the entire bay. Extend and enforce the 5-knot speed limit to 24 hours a day and enlarge or engage the local community as permitted wardens and monitor and observe the beach conditions and the cleanliness and the removal of obstacles and entanglement during the protected period. Thank you.
Thank you. 大家都可以喺台面。
I can find the Dr. Lockley's submission on the table. Next, Blue Mission, Ms. Sharon Pong. And members of the community and Chan panel, today I speak for the International Blue Mission, therefore I will switch to Chinese.
Troubled by local habitat loss for sea turtles. Shamwan at Llama Island, also known as Turtle Cove, is one of the few remaining nesting sites for sea turtles in southern China. The site is essential to the survival of this highly endangered species in both local and regional contexts. Today, sea turtle deaths are mainly attributed to 3 things: garbage consumption resulting in impactation and septicemia, death from drift net entanglement, and collision from impact with motorized vehicles. This aerial photo of Shamwan was taken by the Hong Kong police yesterday as we were doing a cleanup at the cove. As you can see, there's someone wakeboarding, and we actually had divers right under this vessel. This happens almost every day. We have a lot of visitors. You can go on TripAdvisor, you can go on numerous sites and find that this area, Shamwan, is one of favorite places for people to visit, to park their boats and enjoy the area. But this is detrimental to turtle life because this is what happens. Okay, so last week we actually saw a turtle at the exact spot where that wakeboard was. The turtles are there, but they're in danger. These areas need further restrictions and heavier policing. Qualified community wardens could be a good source of added manpower. The organization I speak for today is Mission Blue. Our international conservation campaign helps recognize, empower, and support ecologically unique areas of ocean designated for global protection. At the moment, the largest hope spot is the Papahana-Mokuakea National Marine Monument in Hawaii. It's 582,578 square miles, and there are 92 hope spots in the world at the moment. These areas are not a luxury because resilience to climate change is dependent upon having significant areas of natural protection for biodiversity and for all things that hold the planet steady. This is vitally important to protect life as we know it, including ourselves. Mission Blue fully supports AFCD's intention to increase restrictions of chamois in order to protect a small but vital area of Hong Kong as a safe haven for marine species, especially sea turtles. I've personally nominated chamois as a hope spot, and if accepted, it will become the first in China. Let this be an area of hope to preserve Hong Kong's unique biodiversity for future generations. Thank you.
多謝。
We need to deal with Mr. Hui Jifeng's motion. Could you display the PowerPoint? Oh, we are short of one member to have a quorum. So let me read out the motion contents. Given that the somewhat restricted area is a popular destination for vessels and tourists during this green sea turtle breeding period, so this panel urges the government to enlarge the restricted area to include the bay to prevent vessels and tourists congregating in the area that create air and noise pollution, that preventing the green sea turtles from breeding. The motion is put forward by Mr. Hui Jifeng. Any response from government? Well, as I said just now, AFCD in Samwan, we have an action plan and we are reviewing the action plan. Okay. So let's see. We have a full quorum, right? Okay, so we can vote. So those in favor of Mr. Hui Jifeng's motion, please raise your hands. Okay, it's a unanimous vote, no abstention. So we'll have the government respond to the motion in writing.